I am in the mood for wintry type books, books that just really make me want to cozy up and read a good book, drink some tea. I'm especially drawn to mystery novels this time of year. Let me share a little bit of my plans for my December TBR, or to be read pile. Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm a mom to 4. I love to homeschool, I love to read good books, and I love to share both of those things on this channel. So I'm really happy you are here. And if you also like some of these things, please consider subscribing. I would love that. So like I said, today's video is my TBR video. I can't believe it's the last month of the year to pick the books I want to read for the month. And I think I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic because I started my channel just around the beginning of the new year. So it's been about a year that I've had this channel and that I've been sharing what I've been reading. And like I said, I'm feeling kind of books that are a little wintry, not really spooky. I feel like I'm kind of exiting spooky into more mystery, cozy up, like whodunit sort of things. But the first book I want to share is a book that I have just really been meaning to get to. I pre-ordered this. I never pre-order books, but I pre-ordered this because I loved the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. So I really want to read this book, The Devil and the Dark Waters. So it's by Stuart Turton. So I'm not totally clear what this book is about, which I'm fine with. It has to do with a ship and the potential for there being like some sort of evil on the ship. Yeah, 1600s. So that's just prime time for kind of like witch hunts and things like that. I'm actually currently reading, what's it called? Magic Lessons, which is really good. It's very much in the 1600s and magical kind of things. And so this kind of gives me similar vibes, just on a boat. And if it's anything like the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, I'm sure it will be twisty. I'm sure it will be a little hard to understand and potentially having a lot of different characters to follow. But I really liked that about the last one. I thought the mystery was really good. And so I have high hopes for this. I hope not too high of hopes for this. I think this will be my next book after Magic Lessons. Next book I picked up on a whim from my book of the month order, and that was One by One by Ruth Ware. And I picked it up solely because it looked so like wintry and cozy, and it's a mystery. And it kind of reminds me of, what's that book? Agatha Christie, And Then There Were None. I haven't read that book. It's on my list, but I know the general premise of it, and I know it's one of the most well-respected mystery novels. So anyway, the general premise of this book reminds me of that idea because it's about a group of strangers getting stuck in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, I believe. And I think somebody gets murdered. I'm not quite sure, actually. I don't really want to know too much. I'm excited to get into another Ruth Ware book. I read The Death of Mrs. Westaway and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I've been hearing good things about this book, so it's on my list for good wintry reads for December. Next book I think I have featured in lots and lots and lots of TBRs, but this is the month. This is the month I'm going to actually read it. It's called Winter House by Ben Gutterson. And it just looks so cute. It's a middle grade mystery novel that has to do with this girl who's been orphaned, and she lives with her aunt and uncle, and they ship her off to this school or this boarding house of some sort. And she finds a book, a magical book. And then she gets kind of swept away into the happenings of this magical book, which sounds like that she had some sort of destiny involved in this book, even though she's never heard of this house or this book or anything like that. So I think it sounds really good. And it's just a beautiful book with beautiful little pictures, which I've showed in multiple videos. So I need to read it so that I can stop talking about it. So hopefully I get to this one. The last one I've also had on a lot of TBRs, but I've heard such good things about this book, and it's been around for a while, so it's not like a new release or anything like that, but it's Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. And this has to do with a woman who is sentenced to execution in Iceland. I think she was the last woman to be sentenced to execution. And I believe the setting of the book really centers around after her trial, after she's been convicted of, I think, murder of 2 men or something like that. After that, she gets sent to this farm in northern Iceland, and she's kind of waiting for the government to get all the equipment needed, something like that. And I think it has to do with maybe telling the story of what happened, as well as maybe endearing the farmers, the people who kind of take her onto their land, who are very suspicious and kind of scared of her. And I think they soften towards her, but I'm not sure. But I've heard excellent things about it, so I really, really, really want to get to it. So that's my last wintry choice for December. And I try not to pick too many books because I haven't been reading as much, though I feel there's an upswing coming, because last January, February, March, April, kind of that time frame, I read a ton, and I'm hoping that's the case. We have just moved and settled in, which is clearly, sorry, I meant to say, this is my new background in our new house, which is really fun. To go back to my original point, so those were the 4 books that I have on my radar that I really want to get to before the end of the year. But I also kind of have this desire to read a fantasy novel. I haven't read a good fantasy novel in a while. I read The Bear and the Nightingale, the whole series, earlier this spring, and I just loved it. Oh, I loved it so much. And so I've been just wanting to get into something else, and I'm just feeling particularly drawn to fantasy right now, to like a magical world, kind of transport out of this world sort of idea. So I have a couple options. So I'm going to get a couple books from the library, and then I'm going to decide what I feel like I want to read. So I do have one book on hand. I don't typically buy fantasy because it's not my normal genre to read, but I'm in the mood. So I do have Mistborn, Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn, and I've heard really good things about it. I feel like there's a lot of people who love this. There's a lot of channels I follow who love fantasy, that love Brandon Sanderson, and Mistborn tends to be one that is recommended to start with early, I think. If any of my fantasy friends out there want to comment below, let me know. But it sounds very interesting. It's basically a book, I think, about the bad guy winning. And so it was like, it starts out with this general idea that there was this epic war and battle, and there was this like chosen one who was supposed to save everybody, and he didn't. And I guess the bad guy won, and now the bad guy's been ruling the land for thousands of years or something like that. And now there's like this stirring of an uprising. The whole Sanderson world is a little confusing, but I think this is the first book in this series. Not quite sure, but I'm going to start here. And if anybody knows better or different, let me know. This is probably the thing that keeps me away from fantasy, is I feel like I'm just confused. I'm like, should I start here? Should I not start there? Everybody seems to have different opinions, but that's okay. Anyway, so this is an option. I have it on my shelves. I got it via Book Outlet for like $4. So I picked it up. But there's also 2 other books that are on my radar that I think I'm going to get from the library. So the one is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Sorry, I don't know who the author is, but I'll put the book up. And this sounds really good. It's kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it just sounds really interesting. So I apologize, I don't know much more about it than that, but that's on my list as potentially could pick something up there. Or the other one I have on my short list is A Gathering of Shadows, which is the second book in the Darker Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. I read the first one this past spring, and I liked it. It was entertaining. It's actually set in our world in London, but the catch is there is different Londons. There's a red London, a black London, a white London, a gray London. I think there was 4. It's been a little bit, but they each kind of have different levels of magic. And then there was the main character who could travel between the worlds. When that wasn't common, most people couldn't do that. And he brought something from one world into a different world, and that was a big no-no. And there was this whole plot that fell out of that. And so this is the second book that kind of picks up from there. So I could pick that up. So I'm interested in that. It's been like 6-8 months since I read the first one, but I still could read that. So I'm trying to decide between those 3. If anybody has some strong opinions about those 3, please let me know. I'm just kind of in the mood. I love being lost in stories, so that's why I like historical fiction so much. I feel like I get lost and pulled in, but those tend to be a little bit more serious. And I'm just looking for a little bit more like take me into a world and entertain me sort of book. So that's what I'm thinking. Let me know your thoughts on that if you have any. Otherwise, yes, that is my plans for my reading in December. I am so excited to just settle in. We have been moving and it's just been stressful, and I have not been reading, and I am just ready to start reading again. So wish me luck. Let me know your thoughts on the books and let me know what you're reading in December. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next book video. All right, take care. Bye.